Let's start with a very simple talks. Let's say we want to print this sentence for the next 5 times. So what can we do? We can just copy this line and paste it for the next 5 times. And when we run this Python file, we can see on the output console that our sentence has been successfully printed for the 5 time. It works, but it's not too great. What if we need to print this for next 1,000 times or for the more than that? We can't copy and paste it 4,000 times because it will take some time, it would be slow, it would be boring, and it might give us some error as well. As a programmer, we need to be lazy in a very smart way. So we just want Python to cover everything. We just want Python to repeat this line of code for us. So for this, for loops comes to our rescue. So what is a for loop? A for loop in Python is used to repeat a block of code, or let's say a line of code, until and unless it meets a condition. Okay, so until and unless the condition is satisfied, it will just run and run. So syntax of the for loop is we'll have for a variable in range, and we have n. So this is how a for loops actually is structured. So let me use a for loop to print the following sentence for 5 times. We write for variable name as I in range. We want this sentence to repeat for 5 times. Indentation print I am learning for loops. So when I run this file, you can see that the sentence has been successfully repeated for 5 times. So how is this working behind? Let's see this. So at first we have this for. So what is for? A for is a very special keyword in Python. Okay, it's a very special keyword in Python. It states or it says the for loop starts from here. Okay, for loops starts from here. The next one is we have I. As mentioned earlier, it's actually a variable. Okay, it's variable. The initial value of this I is always 0. Okay, you can say this as initial value, and this value is never fixed. Okay, it's never fixed. Okay, it's actually never fixed. It always changes. It can be like in our case it will be like 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4, right? Now next we have in range and we have 5. So what is this? This is actually a command. You can say it is actually a command that actually tells the loop how many times do we need to run or to execute this. Okay, this actually tells you how many times do we need to run this loop. So in this case we have 5, so we need to run this loop for 5 times. But we also have range and 5. So what does it does? So range 5 creates a sequence of number from 0 to 5. So we can say it creates a sequence. So in this case our sequence will be from 0 to 4. As I mentioned earlier, it would be 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then we have another important one. We have a semicolon. So what does a semicolon do? So in Python, semicolon instructs that from the next line, the block of code is going to execute or start. But in this case, the semicolon instruct that from the next line, this for loop is going to execute or is going to run. Okay, so this is what it is all about. Okay, now as I mentioned that the value of I or the variable is always changing, it's never fixed. So how does this print function and the sentence execute for the 5 times? Okay, so when the value of I is 0, it will check whether is 0 greater than 5. No, then it will just print this sentence. Again, the next line it will check. Now the value of I will increase. So the value of I will be 1 and it will again check, is I greater than 5? No. So it will just say I am learning for loop. At the next step, it will again increase. The value of I will be 2 and it will check, is 2 greater than 5? No. So it will again print I am learning for loop. For the next time, the value of I will be 3 and it will check, is I is 3 greater than 5? No. So it will again print I am learning for loop. Again, it will, now the value of I will be 4 and again check, is 4 greater than 5? No. Now this print function will again execute. At last, the value of I will be 5. Okay, and it will check, is 5 greater than 5? No. So over here, this loop terminates. Then it will terminate over here and our loop will stop. And so in this case, I am learning for loops, or the sentence will be printed for the next 5 times. Okay, now you can also do one thing. Okay, so we can write 1 over here. If we do this, what it does, instead, as I mentioned earlier, that initial value of the I is always 0, but if we write 1 over here, the value of the I will change to 1. So in this case, it will be something like, instead of 0 1 2 3 4, it will now be 1 2 3 and 4. Sorry, and 4. So when I print this now, you can see our loops or our sentence is only running for the 4 times. Now, as I said over here, the value of I is always changing. The value of I is never fixed. To know the value of I, you can simply just write I over here, and if I just run this Python file, you can see that our value is 0 1 2 3 4. Now let's recap this for loops once again. So what we can do, for is a special keyword. So from here the loop start. I is a variable, its initial value is 0 and it's never fixed, it always changes. In range is a command that actually tells the loop how many times do we need to run. So 5 is a number that is how many times that we have to run this loop for. In range, give us a range from like the range that has like 5 total numbers onto it. And in the indicator we have semicolon that says that okay, from next line the code will be executed. So this is all about for loops. Thank you for listening this, hope you liked it, and thank you so much for your time.